All right, I'm going to say this once for the people in the back. You do not need to go viral. Maybe even stop trying to go viral. So right off the bat, I'm going to be breaking this video down into two parts. The first part, I'm going to be talking about virality and why actually going viral could be hurting your business. The second part, I'm going to be talking about why it's okay to bomb and specifically what metrics you really need to be concerned with to ensure that you're able to reach audiences and potentially monetize your expertise. So starting it off, going viral is something that I think people have become obsessed with. I know I've certainly fallen into these traps of, being obsessed with the numbers and like, oh, I'm not going viral, it's not growing. And I know the concept or the term viral can, it can really be a spectrum, right? And really what it entails is your videos, your content's ability to get in front of cold audiences. That's what we really want in terms of organic growth. We want to be able to get in front of eyes that don't already follow us at certain times, right? We need to be able to have content that gets in front of cold audiences, and we also need to have content that serves our current audience, right? Our current clientele. Now, in terms of just focusing on the content that we want to go viral, or at least the expectation that it will, what I want to really hone in on is how people tend to do that. And that is often by hopping on trends, okay? Even trending audio, using trending audio. And I'm not even saying that's necessarily a bad thing, but creating content or curating content that specifically caters to a trend to get in front of more audiences. Now, on the one hand, it's not the worst strategy. It's not necessarily a bad strategy, but there are two cons that potentially come with this, okay? The first one, and ultimately the biggest one, is that you might be getting in front of audiences for the wrong reasons, and people might be following you for the wrong reasons. Okay, so what is that going to do? You might build your following, right? Your followers, your subscribers, okay, based on a particular trend, okay, that they like. However, this trend may not be reflective of how you actually want to monetize your content. So that is to say, maybe you're doing some form of dance or lip sync or any kind of trend, right, that resonates with a certain kind of audience. But as soon as you start putting out content that speaks to your expertise, okay, speaks to your heart, your alignment, those people now might be, oh, I don't want to be sold. Nobody wants to be sold, right? That's the whole game of social media marketing, is being able to create content that builds relationships. Not social media, it's relationship media. That being said, that could hurt you in a number of ways. You might have, one post that really netted you a lot of, followers, but now as soon as you start putting out like real content, right? Like content that seeks to solve a problem and actually like kind of pitch yourself in some degree, right? They might not be engaging with you anymore. And maybe they don't even hit that like unfollow button, or maybe they do. It's just either way, you run the risk of the algorithm seeing that content or seeing this drop in engagement, be like, oh, we're not going to push that out anymore to cold audiences. So that's the first potential con. It's just something to be aware of. I'm not saying never do a trend. It's just being aware of like, how authentic is this? How much in alignment is this with what I actually want to represent and with my message on social media? The second con is really more of a risk, and this is really more about you creating content that is specifically inauthentic, right? Like maybe you have a post that really goes viral and it just reaches a lot of people. And now because of that, you feel that you need that validation, and therefore you keep chasing more and more of these trends. But again, this is less in alignment, it's less authentic of who you are. And now you just have this expectation or personality of or routine, this habit of creating content that is not true to who you are and how you actually can or want to serve people. Okay, let's move on to why it's okay for your content to bomb and what metrics you specifically need to be paying attention to. So I talked about before how you need to have content that gets in front of cold audiences, build your followers, okay, build your network in some sense, and then you need to create content that actually serves them. One thing that I'm often doing with clients is auditing the engagement of their content. And when I say engagement, what does it actually mean, right? Because going back to, virality, some people consider like high view count, right, to be a metric of success. But what if those are just vanity views? Have we ever considered the consequences, the repercussions of just vanity views? Again, all this falls back into the previous section of going viral. What I like to do is consider what our intention is, and I don't want to go too deep into that, but just understand that, hey, if I want to monetize my expertise, I need to consider what impact my content is having on my audience. And there are different ways that we could look at this. For example, how many shares is it getting, right? Is it getting sends? Is it getting shared in stories? Okay. How many comments, okay, am I getting? How many saves? These are all different forms of engagement. Now, at the very base of all of this, okay, the very base of all this is, in my opinion, a like. A like is the lowest form of emotional investment that somebody can give into a post. All right, and I know that there are layers to this, right? Like, for example, if you're actually giving your audience a call to action, like, hey, make sure you like this, right? And that being said, at this moment, I do want to invite you to make sure you are hitting that subscribe button. Every week, I am dropping knowledge bombs that are going to help you increase your network, build your brand, and really increase your ability to get clients. Okay, so the baseline engagement that I might audit, okay, is a like, okay, just giving a like. And again, this is not the end all be all, but you'll see where I'm going with this in a moment. So if somebody's scrolling and they stop on your post, and maybe you give call to action, maybe you don't, there is still some form of reciprocation that we're essentially asking for. I am asking you to watch my content, and I'm asking for something in return. At the very least, you could just hit that heart button, right? Now, in terms of engagement rates, if that's just my baseline engagement, and you can create, audits and spreadsheets for other forms of engagement, right? But comments are another good one, because you're essentially asking people to engage with you in conversation. Again, whole other rabbit hole. At this point, what I like to do is make sure that my engagement percentage is maintaining a steady pace to some degree. Okay, so here's what I mean by that. Let's say I have a video with 14,300 views, okay, and 530 likes. Essentially, if I were to take those likes, 530, divided by 14,300, I get a percentage of 3.7. Okay, so at that point, I am saying that 3.7% of my audience that watched the video gave it a like. Okay, not too bad, not too bad. Now I might go to another video which I think did poorly. Okay, so maybe I have another video with 1,016 views, right, and 51 likes. Let's just call it 1,000 views. So 51 divided by 1,000. Okay, that's a 5.1% engagement rate. So on the one hand, you might think, oh, my video didn't do well, okay, but it had a higher engagement percentage than the other one. So we need both, right? We need a video that's going to get in front of cold audiences, but we also need a video that's actually going to make sure that my audience is engaging with me. And, especially if it's content that really speaks to your ideal audience, right? We want to create content that resonates with our core demographic, and maybe even create content that specifically pushes some other people away. All right, so really what I'm honing in on here is that if your content bombs, before you get discouraged about it, when in doubt, zoom out. Go and look at your numbers and say, hey, you know what? The audience that I do have is still engaging with me, and therefore I am maintaining or even developing my relationships. Okay, go ahead and go through your posts, okay, and just check that out. Write it down. I like to do this, routinely, just to see what the numbers show me. But I try not to pass too much judgment on what I'm seeing. Organic traffic, it's fickle sometimes, okay? So try not to be too hard on yourself. Hey, I really hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it really brought some value to your life. I do want to invite you to hit that subscribe button, maybe hit that like button for me. My name is Jeremy Bruman. Every week I am dropping new knowledge bombs, so stick around. I'll see you on the next one.